Good morning folks, welcome back to the channel. It is Tuesday the 23rd of September. We obviously have to push the videos back a week or two to edit the videos and get them out. Apologies to anyone who watches them on a Sunday morning when they come out. Priorities start to change when you get to this sort of time of year, and yeah, almost just trying to knuckle down now and get things done and prepare for the sort of winter months. The yard is slowly progressing, we're getting there with the shed. Doing all that whilst also trying to maintain cash flow and make sure that the bank is getting enough money in. We are not in the place that I'd like to have been coming into winter, so trying to get proactive in sort of booking jobs in that we can do sort of in the poorer weather.
Don't put a breaker through a piece of wood, especially a rotten post. Please.
And try and make the right calls and the right decisions. It is just the nature of the beast, and it will get there. Rome was not built in a day. Good morning folks, welcome back to the channel. It is a new video, it's a new week. It is Tuesday the 23rd of September, and after a week off of filming, or should I say like intense filming, we are back. The week of Grounds Fest and after that was just a bit hectic, and it wasn't my main priority to bring up the camera, so we decided that we would skip a week and yeah, come back with a bang. We obviously have to push the videos back a week or two to edit the videos and get them out. So yeah, apologies to anyone who who watches them on a Sunday morning when they come out religiously, because I have a few people that tell me that they do religiously. But anyway, just forced myself to get the camera back out and film. Obviously, as I was kind of mentioning in the video, the Grounds Fest video, priorities start to change when you get to this sort of time of year, and yeah, almost just trying to knuckle down now and get things done and prepare for the sort of winter months. The yard is slowly progressing, we're getting there with the shed, waiting on a door to come and get fitted. So once that door's on, we obviously need to get power back into the shed as well. I've got Gunny, the painter, coming in to paint the shed as well, the inside of it. We're getting there with it, slowly but surely. Doing all that whilst also trying to maintain cash flow and make sure that the bank is getting enough money in. We are not in the place that I'd like to have been coming into winter, and I guess I've got only myself to blame for that, but there's various other reasons. Do you know what the thing is? And I'd love to sit on a podcast, and a lot of people have told me to get on a podcast or suggested podcasts for me to go on, because believe it or not, I know a lot of people are looking at this thing and shut up and just film something exciting. A lot of people actually take value from what I'm sharing and what I'm saying, but it's crazy how when you're growing a business, it like pushes you into growth. As soon as you start growing a business, it almost like it forces your hand, you know. You start doing something, you have to buy a bit of kit for it, and then you've got to spend so much money to get there, then you've got to a workshop, and you've got to get yard space to store these bits of kit and to accommodate all these things. It kind of spirals, so you either kind of have to take a step back or you've got to just keep going. There has been times in business where I have had to take a step back. A couple of years ago, I was in a bit of a hard place. I lost a member of staff. I ended up taking 3 members of staff on at the same time. Don't recommend that. It's just, I didn't necessarily advertise for 3 members of staff. I just had 3 people approach me sort of at similar times, and they kind of all came on at the same time. Ended up letting 2 of them go just because it wasn't the right time, and it was too stressful having to train up people at the same time. It's not like these people came in and they were ready to work and they knew what to do and etc. I was trying to teach them and also do the job at the same time, and then you've got multiple people to keep busy. It just wasn't sustainable. With the right people, it might have been sustainable. So I had to take a step back from things, from my ambitions and stuff. I knuckled down with myself and 1 employee, and we worked the majority of the year with that 1 employee. So it was just myself and him. Back to basics. I was on the tools all the time, and yeah, that gave me a bit of a chance to recoup and sort of just, plan ahead of where we're actually going to go and how we were going to navigate things. That was quite cool. In September of that year, that is when Kyle and Damien came on board. Kyle had applied for the job whilst he was still over in South Africa. I remember the day he walked into the yard. I was expecting this big burly South African, quite scary, but no, Kyle was nothing of the such. And ever since, he's been an integral part of the team. And actually, I think Damien has been the longest standing member of about a week. Okay, he started a week before Kyle. Yeah, that was crazy to think. That's been 2 years. So my point being is that it is quite easy to get pushed into growth too soon, too quick, and run before you can walk. And it is very stressful. To try and manage that all, it requires a certain amount of, craziness, I guess. And a lot of my growth has just sort of been organically driven. It's like had people approach me for jobs when I haven't necessarily advertised for it, and then also when I have advertised, obviously that's when sort of Mole came on board, and yeah, it just it's organically happened. But it's very easy to get pushed into that sort of growth mode, and you kind of need to stop yourself and say, no, this is the time when we're going to try and build up a cash reservoir, make sure that we're profitable, make sure things are systemized and running efficiently with what we've already got, rather than getting more staff, more vans, more vehicles, more equipment, tools, machinery, and trying to make it all work and juggle it. It's quite difficult. My issue has been the yard this year. It's not an issue, it's a blessing, because we need it. I'm very grateful to have that space. It's going to be great once it's all done and it's functional. We're getting the wash bay put in, stuff. We've never had the ability to, wash vehicles. It just makes a massive difference. But that at the same time has sucked a lot of revenue from the business, a lot of time and resources to do, which is fine. That's obviously what it costs. But going into winter, I am not in the position that I would have liked to have been following from last winter. Where it was a bit of a struggle going through the sort of periods of harsh weather. So trying to get proactive in sort of booking jobs in that we can do sort of in the poorer weather, getting rid of all the sort of hedge trimming jobs, as in we're getting through them early, so anything that we can sort of do if it's snowy or if it's frosty, we're trying to push jobs back into that sort of winter period to keep going, because we just have to. We were out digging holes in the snow last winter. That being said, it would be nice to be in a comfortable position to not have to worry if you had the guys in the yard for a day doing stuff that is going to, propel the business going forward into the next year, preparing things, cleaning down machinery, servicing, potentially making things to sell, making planters to sell in the summer under the shelter of a shed with a heater on, when it's absolutely torrential outside. Having that cushion of cash would allow you to do that comfortably without stressing that if the guys aren't out earning money today, they're costing me money, and it's not going to be sustainable to do that. Because ultimately we want to sort of build a sustainable business model that can sustain people all year round. My bills do not stop for the snow, they do not stop for the ice. So, I think a lot of people assume that I want to just bin off the guys for the winter, sit comfortably, do nothing, and then come back in the spring. Not possible. Hence why putting Kyle through his chainsaw ticket, so we can do a bit more chainsaw work through the winter. Tree work is something that we kind of want to lean into, but my limiting belief right now is the fact that I haven't done enough tree work, or I haven't been a trained arborist, I haven't got my climbing tickets, and that is you need such experience to get into that line of work. Or you can just start from the ground up. It would be me like starting over again. I'd have to go through my training and stuff like that, and naturally the way I'm coming off the tools, I don't know how it would work, me going and doing that. Yes, I could employ someone to, who's experienced to run that side of things, but there isn't, going back to the whole complex services, simple services are easier to scale, there isn't a pool of people to choose from. There's not like 30 arborists looking for a job right now who could run a team, run that element of the business, and grow that. It's hard enough to get people to come and cut grass properly than to do that. Everything is possible, but it's significantly harder to do so. But going into winter and stuff, that sort of line of work is something that could keep us going, and it's something that we come to every year that if we've got a tree to go and put down, I think there's nothing better than going out in the snow, dropping a tree, clearing it all up, and being able to still generate revenue whilst there's snow on the ground. Snow clearing, gritting and all that is another complete thing. It's another avenue. I'm not sure if I want to go down that route because it's a very tying thing. You've got to be there at 0 degrees. You're out there and you're gritting and you're snow clearing and you're on call basically all the time, so you can't go anywhere. And then also trying to get staff to do sort of early mornings and stuff. It could be a bit, difficult to implement. So it's just not something we've ever done. Is it something that we might do in the future? Maybe. We'll see how the winters go as things grow. If we get a bigger team, we might need to go into something like that to sort of sustain going through the winter periods. So, just sort of trying to figure out how to navigate things just now. Trying to propel forward, but also take my foot off the gas. There's so much things that I would like to get for the yard. We need to get a pressure washer, I want to get a proper hot pressure washer, a big Karcher thing. Well, that's a couple of grand off the bat. A heater, again, not absolutely necessary, but a heater for the shed, for if we're working in the shed or coming in the mornings. It's very difficult to work in the cold. So if we were working in the shed doing things, an infrared heater, again, a couple £1,000. The roller door for the shed, 3 grand. We'll have to put a concrete wash bay in. Whether that happens this year or next year, not sure. Again, probably another grand or so to sort of do that. There's just so much involved, and that's just half of the list basically. And I'm very much a sort of like just go sort of person, but it's easy to get caught up in that, and it cause issues down the line. So just trying to navigate things and try and make the right calls and the right decisions. And one thing for sure is definitely want to get the shed up and running for this winter, because that will be a big asset to us, a bigger space to be able to work in and get out of the snow, and to store things, keep things dry. And yeah, it just has felt a bit all over the place at the moment whilst trying to get into that sort of new area of the yard, develop it, move everything up there. Firewood as well. Firewood is something we haven't touched all year because I haven't had the processor set up. Ideally, I'd like to get the processor set up in the yard, so it's just a case of coming in, turning the key, and then firing up, and then you're processing wood. Having to drag it out of the container, set it up, it's just not sustainable. You want to be able to come in and just start. If the guys have got a spare hour at the end of the day, go and fire out a couple of baskets of firewood, and then we can slowly build up stock. Last winter I said, right, we're gonna get firewood stocked up through the summer, so then we're good to go next winter. I have not done any of that because we have been too busy in the yard developing that, and until I get up into the new yard, I cannot clear any space down below to set up the firewood. So all these things that are limiting, frustrating, and a pain in the arse, but also it is just the nature of the beast, and it will get there. Rome was not built in a day. I'm just about to grab something to eat, and then I'm going to go see Kyle and Damien on the current project we are starting today. There was a lot more overgrowth here. You can see the stump of a tree. This was all overgrown. You couldn't get in the gate barely. So the guys have came and cleared out the worst of the growth. What we're going to do now is we're going to bring the digger in, and I've advised the customer that we're going to dig everything out and put this back to a blank canvas, just get some fresh gravel in here just to make it low maintenance. Yeah! Hi, Jim.
What's up?
Got a new member of staff today. Jim's on holiday, so he thought he'd do nothing else better to do than come and work here. Like, yeah, you're very impressed, Jim.
Big bucket, man.
What do we think of the job, Joe?
Good. Mint.
Mint,
Done a good job, like.
Happy?
Yeah. Pretty mint.
Happy?
Guy.
We've just not long finished, got back from the job, cleared out the vans and then got loaded up to go to the next job. Damien and Joe are just heading out to start a new fence in boat today, so they've taken the digger to get the old fence out and hopefully they can just get a start on digging the holes today. Another simple but effective job knocked out there. A back garden that was completely overgrown, overrun and just out of hand for the customer. We actually went in a few years ago to clear out the garden and we didn't go to the extent that we have just done there as to dig out the gravel and redo it, but we cleared it all out, cut everything back. Over a few years it's just gotten out of hand again. So customer had solar panels getting fitted on, so it was a bit of a last minute can you squeeze me in. Initially just wanted it sort of cleared out just so they could get in with scaffolding to get the solar panels done. And I said, listen, there's no point in you spending that money, you know, for us to come in, clear it out and then, you know, have to do it again in a year's time or whatever when it grows back up. You'd be better doing it now, getting it all done, redoing it, clear everything out, and then you can start. You've got a blank canvas, you can get some pots and planters to make things a little bit low maintenance and a nicer area for you to sit. So she is delighted, which is the main thing, and yeah, it was good to sort of help and, you know, be able to turn around a job that quickly for her. She was quite grateful of. It's one of those things, we had jobs in the diary, however they weren't as urgent and we managed to push them back. Like this fence that we're starting now was supposed to be started on Monday. We went and started that job yesterday and got it done today. So the boys are just away to go and start the fence now. We'll still get that done by the end of the week. And yeah, another happy customer. And again, a not so glamorous job. It wasn't something exciting and, you know, fancy paving, etc. It is ultimately quite boring work, right? It's not. I quite enjoy doing the job and transforming it, but it's nothing like a big fancy show garden. But you've got to remember the sort of market around here doesn't really look for that, I guess. You know, there's a lot of times we get asked for paving and stuff, and now because I'm trying to come away from the sort of complex stuff, we're trying to do the simpler tasks but do them very efficiently, very well. And, you know, make sure that it's profitable. You'll obviously see quite a lot of gravel, fencing, sleepers, sort of turfing, all this sort of soft and then soft hard landscaping. The hard landscaping that we do is simple. It's simpler because, again, I touched on it before, to try and get people or staff that are heavily experienced in landscaping, hard landscaping, who have been doing paving for years, building walls, you know, laying patios, all that sort of stuff. It is a complex trade. It's something that you need to have gained experience in to do a job to a high end, you know, finish. I really care about the work that we do. If we can't do it very well due to lack of experience, it's not something I want to be taking on. And I've touched on this before, but the way we're trying to go with things and trying to make, trying to scale the business, take on multiple staff and stuff, the more complex of a service that you offer, the harder it is to operate, the harder it is to turn out without being a mega stress head all the time. So it's been quite liberating to say, when we get asked for paving, no, we don't actually do that anymore. However, we can recommend you this person, but for this aspect of the garden, we'd be more than happy to help. And yeah, 9 times out of 10, it works pretty well. Just being transparent with people and saying it's not really what we do. I think we kind of fall into this trap of like, because it's garden related or something that you can do, we end up just doing it. And that is something that, when you first start out and you're trying to get busy and you're trying to do work, you will do almost anything you can. But as you sort of get to a certain point when you're scaling, you want to sort of rein it back into what you're really good at and what you can turn out efficiently, effectively, and profitably. Because 9 times out of 10, when we're doing paving, or when I've done paving in the past, it's taken me longer than I wanted to. I've had to get other people in to help who have done it before. I used to get Marcus in, who was a builder. It was quite a lot, so I used to get him in the homers to help. I learnt a little bit off of him, and I learnt a little bit off of other people. So it's something that I'm glad I have done in the past, because I have got a little bit of experience on what is involved. But because we're not turning out patios week in, week out, it's not something that we're really good and efficient at. We're turning out this sort of work and fences, almost every other week. So it's consistent, it's regular. The guys are sharpening up their skills on it. They're learning how we do things and how to, overcome certain problems. So we're getting better at it. We're getting more efficient at it. We kind of get an idea of how long things are going to take because we're doing more of it. And yeah, it is just an overall better thing for us. We don't want to come away from the landscaping at all. It's a big part of the business. It's a big part of the revenue. But to try and simplify things and rein it back a little bit has been, a big liberation, I guess, for me, because it's always something that I've wanted to be able to deliver and say, I want to be able to be the all-round service. I want to come and do your patios, do this, the next thing, lay the lawn, then come in and maintain it, build you a fence. I want to be that all-round service. But ultimately, being realistic, unless you have a pool of staff that you can, or like employees that you can, take in and they already know what they're doing, they're up to skill, what have you, then that is, a bit more manageable. But when you don't have a lot of labour option out there, a lot of the guys that have came on board haven't had any experience in this line of work, and they've sort of been trained up. Now, training up is okay. You want to be able to train people up to the standards and how you work and how you do things, and sometimes it turns out better because they do it the way you want, the standard that you want to work to. Whereas if someone who's got experience comes in, they work to how they work, and it is a bit difficult. It can clash if you've got someone with experience who's trying to, adhere to the new sort of rules and meaning of work within a business. I've had it before. Mike was really great. Mike had been a greenkeeper for however many years. He then went and worked with a local builder who he learned off of the builder as a labourer how to do things and lay patios and stuff. So when he came to me, I had an understanding of how to lay patios. He had an understanding that he got from, working with the builder, and then we wouldn't clash, but it would be like, oh, well, I think you should do it this way, and he'd be like, oh, this is how I've been taught to do it. Mike was really good at just saying, like, listen, I want you to tell me if there's something, if there's a certain way you want to do it. So I really appreciated that. He wanted to work to the standard that we work to, and it was great. So when Mike was here, we would take on the patios, and he would do them, and he quite liked doing it. So that was all fine and well. But then when Mike left, we had patio work and no one really to do it. And at that point, I'm sort of coming off the tools a little bit. I don't want to have to rely on me or someone else to then have to go and turn out work. Do you know what I mean? So you cannot build a business around one person. It is absolutely possible to employ people to do things that you do not want to do or you do not know how to do and build a business from it. I'm not saying it's not possible. It's a limiting belief to say, no, I need to know how to do everything so I can train everyone to do everything that I want to do. You can employ people to come in and do the work. However, it is significantly more difficult to find people who have got vast experience in this trade. Like I say, everyone is screaming out for people, skilled people, skilled tradesmen, people with experience. 9 times out of 10, the good guys are already in a good job or they're working for themselves. So again, the turnaround that you're almost like cycling through people. And if you take someone on, they come on for a year, it might take them a year to get them up to scratch with things, and they might have then a basic understanding about how to do things. Then they up and leave. You've literally just lost a year of all that. So ideally, for me personally, you want to be taking someone on, getting them trained up within a few months to be then profitable, and then going out and, you know, generating revenue for the business, rather than just being a cost and, like, you know, someone you've got to, you know, babysit and train. And you want them to be as profitable as soon as possible from a business point of view. Now, yes, over time skills develop. I'm still learning every day. You know, over time skills will develop on the job, and as you approach new, you know, hurdles and obstacles and what have you, and different aspects of the job. But ultimately, you know, for like the grass cutting, for example, you want someone to come in after a month, them going out and doing the grass cutting to the standard that you want it to be done. You know, a bit more familiar with the ride-on machinery and how to operate things. Everyone thinks it's easy to come and cut grass, but the amount of people who've came through the door who haven't been able to cut grass effectively and do it neatly and trim edges, and I'm sure I'm preaching to the choir to a lot of you. A lot of you, I can tell, are nodding, going, "Yeah, I know, it's crazy." People underestimate how, you know, they think it's so easy to go and cut grass and do simple services like that. The idea of it is, but then to try and get someone to come in and do a good, high quality job for a paying customer at the end of the day, a paying customer, any Tom, Dick and Harry can go and cut their lawn and trim the edges. That's, you know, that is by the by. But when you've got someone paying for it, there's a different level of detail that you need to uphold and deliver on a job. And I've always been quite pernickety about that. I've always worked to a high standard, so that's one thing that has benefited me a lot, is I haven't been afraid to tell people you're doing it wrong, or this is the better way to do it. You need to sort of drop the, oh, I don't want to be disliked, or I don't want to piss people off. They're coming to work for you and your business. You have created a standard that you need to work to, and that you've worked to, you know, the whole time before you've employed this person. When they come along and they work for you and they're wearing your name, etc., they need to work to that standard as well. And it's your responsibility to show people the standard. You cannot take them in and expect them to know, you know, what to do and how to do it. Accountability from my aspect as well. There's been a lot of times that people have came on board and I've been like, why are you doing that? But I haven't actually showed them how to do it. I cannot expect anyone to do something that if they don't know how to do it, and or don't know how to do it to the standard that I'm looking for. So it's all these sort of things that you learn as you start to become a leader and become an employer and employ people. You need to have accountability for yourself. It's a massive thing, and a lot of employers don't, and they just blame everyone. A blame culture. He does this, he does that. You know, and don't get me wrong, we have a great team here, but it's not always smooth sailing. It's not just, you know, it comes with its problems. We have to, you know, pull up guys on certain aspects and teach them and show them and direct them and hold them accountable as well. But I'm holding myself accountable. You know, if something goes wrong, right, from face value, it looks like you've done something wrong, but have I given you the resources and the training and everything to go out and complete that job without it going wrong? No. Well, then I have to change something. I have to be accountable for my actions. So it's just things like that that I'm so appreciative of, like, learning early on, and not just being a typical of a boss. I will hold the guys accountable. I'm not just their friend. I am their boss at the end of the day. This is a business at the end of the day. This needs to be profitable, you know, first and foremost, because if there's no profit in the business, if it's not running efficiently, then they don't have a job. So you have a responsibility to sort of have a backbone and say, you know, like, he's not pulling his weight, or he's not doing that right. Let's go and address it. Let's go and show and, you know, lead and set the example, rather than just going like, he's not doing it right. He, you know, like, blame. Because otherwise you just go into a negative mood all the time. You're always just blaming people. You're always you build a bit of animosity against someone. You build, what's the word, resentment. Every little thing they do, you'll be picking up on. But when you actually take a step back and try and have a bit of accountability for your own actions, and say, like, listen, I've had the conversation with the guys before. You know, like, I'm still learning every day. I'm 23, for God's sakes. I've done pretty good for myself so far, but I'm still learning every day. I'm not perfect. I'm not looking for perfect. I'm just looking for constant progression. Be that 1% better every day. Show up. Try and bring a bit of positivity. You know, we'll all learn together, and we have developed and learned together. Although it is an operating business, this is a very much work in progress. This has all happened in the space of a year. We're still in the process of building a workshop and everything. The guys have been a part of that. The guys have been a part of that journey, and they know it's not just smooth sailing. They know it's not just a business that's been here for 20 years and it's making loads and loads of money. This is as humble as it sort of gets, right? And I'm happy that the guys have, you know, been a part of that, because they have. They ultimately have been a part of that, and I wouldn't be able to do it without them. I'm going on a bit of a tangent, but it is just important to highlight that. I genuinely have struggled with that for a long time, about trying to do the sort of complex tasks and landscaping and you know, the idea of doing all the patios, because I see it all over Instagram. Mark Marshall, he was doing all these sort of fancy gardens and that, and it's all fine and well, to be honest with you. If I wanted to just go and do that and stick on the tools and have people with me and train them up, etc., and then slowly maybe give them a bit of more responsibility and stuff, or try and get people in, which is going to be a pain in itself, because then you're relying on getting limited labour workforce with experience to come in and do jobs. The moment they leave, you're stuck. Okay, so I've learned that lesson before, and I don't want to fall into that trap again. You want to have your fundamental staff that have been with you for years, know how you operate, know the standards, know what needs to be done, and then whoever comes on board can get trained up quickly, and then they're out there, they're generating revenue, they're being efficient, they're learning, they're progressing, they're gaining new skills and stuff. But the idea that taking someone on, taking 3 years, like an apprentice, for example, like joiners, electricians, sparky, like plumbers, it just baffles me, the fact that you've got to take someone on and give them 4 years worth of time and experience. The end of their apprenticeship, they might just up and leave. So you've invested all that time in training someone, and yes, of course, it will have been beneficial to have a labourer or an apprentice with you to help. But it is one of those things. People will up and leave, and if anyone wants to leave here, I'm not going to hold them back. Do you know what I mean? I don't want anyone to think that I'm holding them back from what they want to go and do. If someone wants to be here, they want to thrive here, and they want to have a career here, that's something I want to be able to offer. But I'm pretty transparent in the fact that, you know, like the young lads, Aaron, he wants to go and be a plumber, so he's going to go and do that. Joe isn't going to be here forever, he's wanting to go and be a farmer. So I asked for that transparency to begin with. Are you looking for a career, or are you just here for a job? Both are fine, but I need to know that before I start investing in you, that if you're going to up and leave, you're more within your rights to do so, and there's no hard feelings. But if someone tells me they're going to be here for a career, and I put them through courses, I invest money and time and money into them, and then they up and leave and go and do something completely different, then it is a bit more of a hard pill to swallow. So it's just about transparency, having a sort of open book, and just saying, listen, what is your goals, what is your plans? Because at the end of the day, this is a seasonal job, and we need seasonal people to come in. But the idea of that is that you need to be able to take people in, train them up quickly before the season starts, you know, and then get them generating revenue through the season, almost working under the guys that are here for a career. You almost kind of want that balance. Someone who is here, wants to progress, wants to sort of lead a team, etc. They take on a new person for a seasonal job position, train them up to do the simple services, simple work, you know, like grass cutting, all that sort of stuff, grounds maintenance, picking up a rake, labouring, general labouring. And then at the end of the summer or whatever, when they want to go and do something else in the winter, they can go away. You've still got your core staff there to go through the winter with, which is kind of what we're going with now. And then come the spring again, you go again. So I think it's a bit of a mix. You kind of need, you know, your core staff that are going to be here for a good few years, who want to progress, who want to have a career in this industry, and then the guys who are just coming in for a bit of summer work, a bit of cash, and then they can go on their ways. So it's something that you've got to be sort of aware of if you start employing people. People will not stay around forever. I might have Kyle here for he's been 2 years now. He might come out, he might stay for another year, or he might stay for another 10 years. I don't know. All I can do is try and provide a career for them, for the team, if they want it, and provide a workplace that they can thrive, they can be proud of the work that they do, and turn out a good job and have actually sort of fulfillment in their job. Because if you don't feel fulfilled in your job, you're not really going to do it to a high standard, and you're going to get bored really quickly. That is not to say that everyone comes to work every day and enjoys it. It is hard. It's hard physical manual labour. Some jobs are worse than others. Some jobs you hate, some jobs you really enjoy. You've got to take the sort of good with the bad. The cold, it was frosty this morning, it was really cold, it was about 2 degrees, you know, so touching things and that, it's hard. Coming into that sort of harder season now, it's difficult. So it's important to be mindful of all these things. But ultimately, if the guys choose to be here and they want to be in this job, a personal goal for me and a business goal for me is to be able to provide not just a job, but a career for people. Because I feel like that's something that isn't really a thing nowadays. Nobody really has careers anymore. A lot of people are just going job to job. You know, they might go and work in a digger for a few months, and they might go offshore, or then they might go and, you know, work in a cafe. I appreciate if you haven't found what you're looking for, if you haven't found the sort of dream job that you're looking for, then yeah, you might want to try and go try new things. But ultimately, you want to try and find people who love this industry, love the work that they do, and want to thrive and grow within a growing business. You know, we are a growing, developing business, and I want people to thrive. I want people to have progression and a ladder to almost climb. What that looks like, I don't know. We need to find a more structured sort of way to progress, and how you earn more money, how you do this, etc. That comes with time, and that's something that I need to learn. It does take a lot of time to try and implement all these things, implement the systems, implement the structure for progression, and it's just something that excites me. It holds me back. It's frustrating because you just kind of want it all now, but Rome wasn't built in a day, and it's something that we will, you know, progress with. I do speak a lot on these cameras, right? But when I go on a tangent and I start speaking and giving you all this advice, it is also a bit of self-medicine to me, because I'm stuck in my own head a lot of the times and I'm questioning things. Me giving out advice and giving out my experiences is actually quite like self-benefiting, you know. It's quite a selfish thing, because when I say these things and I give people advice, I kind of listen to myself and I go like, why didn't you listen to what you just said? You know, do as I say, not as I do. I've just given someone else sound advice that I need to also follow. So it's like, it's important to get out there and ramble and speak to people and speak to like-minded people about things, knock heads and try and come up with solutions, because a lot of people are in the same boat. I literally just went and spoke to my CCTV guy who's going to come in and do the CCTV. I had a good conversation with him, and he said the same. You know, they had 7 guys at the start of the year or whenever it was. Now they're back down to him and someone else, and they're trying to do what they do really good and do it efficiently and try and make it as profitable as possible, because it is churn. Churn is when how quick staff come through. So what he was telling me was colossal. Like, they're having to put people on thousands of pounds worth of courses to get them trained up to do their complex side of work, which is CCTV and sort of smart homes and stuff. You know, to me that sounds mental, because, you know, it's hard enough to try and get someone trained up to go and do this sort of work efficiently and to a high standard. So everyone's in the same boat, almost regardless of the sort of industry you're in. Some industries are harder than others, but yeah, I know people get a lot of benefit from these videos, and if you came through all this speaking and you're on the other side of it and you've actually got some value from it, then thank you, I appreciate it. I'd imagine quite a lot of people have skipped to when there is going to be some more action, but I just kind of got onto a bit of a ramble there and a tangent, and I'm glad I have done, because I don't know if I've got to my point really, but I've got a lot out there. It's everything that I actually think and know and have experienced. I'm not just making it up, because I've been on the phone for 25 minutes now speaking, and yeah, I don't think I could do that if I was making it up. So I'd also try and recommend people get clarity on their goals, something I haven't really been able to do for a long while. People say, what is your goals? What's your next steps for 90 days? And I just wing it. I just go, I don't know, we'll see what happens. But it does take a bit of time for those to sort of develop. Things take time, and it's really important to remember that, because it can get so frustrated when you want things right then and now. But it is easy to get caught up in all that sort of stuff. But your goals sort of become a bit more defined as you do things, as you experience things, the good, the bad. And now for us, what we really want to offer is a simple service, but do it really well. We want everything to be, you know, shit hot. From the moment someone phones us, they pick up the phone or they email us, the service from start to finish is really good, really efficient. You know, none of this like not answering the phone for a day or two, nobody, you know, going to voicemail and not answering emails, all this sort of stuff. What we really want to do is be an all-round, really efficient, effective service for people, because in a world where it's quite difficult to get tradespeople, landscapers, tree surgeons, all that sort of service-based businesses, it is often hard to get people who are really busy and really good at their job, because a lot of the time the owner is stuck on the tools, they're stuck out and about and they're doing the jobs. Like today, I was been out and about and doing the jobs. So if anyone's trying to take a step back from that and try and start implementing systems in place so that the customer gets the best experience possible, things are as efficient and effective and systemized as possible, so it's not just chaos every day, because the business is like that. It is chaos, it is a whirlwind every day. You do not know what you're going to face. Something's going to break, someone's going to get unhappy, you know, customer, whether it's your customer that's annoyed or the staff that's annoyed at someone, or someone's not feeling it. Long story short, business is hard. Don't do it, don't start a business, and yeah, you'll be fine. Just stay in a job. Anyway, I'm actually going away now. I'm away to Landmark with Jim. Jim came out and helped us this morning. He's off this week, and he said, you come to Landmark with, he's going with the Baron and Dan, so I thought, you know what, why not? I don't really take much time off through the week. You know, I've only been away a handful of times this year. Why not? This is the other thing. is you get guilty. You feel guilty about going and doing things that the business owner should be allowed to do. You know, if the staff are still out working and you're out doing something else, it's an inner thing that you feel guilty about. And it's like, well, at the end of the day, we go into business to try and create a bit of freedom, to try and create a bit of free time for yourself, and be able to go and do things as and when you please. A lot of people think it is as easy as that. You know, it must be great for you. You might just be able to take a holiday and that every time you want to. Whereas technically, yes, it is possible, because I'm not answering to anyone. It doesn't work like that. You've got people to manage and jobs to do, and there's so much more involved. So unless you work by yourself and you dictate everything you do and when you do it, that's fine. But a lot of the times the business can dictate you. Yeah. Rant over. I'm away to go and chill out for the rest of the afternoon. Hopefully I'll probably get a phone call with something horrendous happening. And yeah, it's a nice sunny Wednesday afternoon. Peace out. Hello folks, we are in Boatgarten. We've just started a new fence. Damien and Joe actually started it yesterday. After the job we finished, they got the fence down, so they're just digging the holes and getting the posts in today. Funnily enough, the guy for this fence phoned me, I believe was it last week or the week before. While I was there, it said, "Hi there, looking for a price for a fence. I'm in Boat." I'm like, right. I had other things to go and do. I had just got a coffee myself, and I was like, sometimes if you're not quite in the sort of pricing mood, I would have said to him, listen, I'll arrange to pop by at some point. Anyway, I just said to him, right, I'm actually just down the road, I'll come up and have a look now. So within him calling, I was there within about 3 minutes. Just funnily, he phoned me while I was down there. Was there within 3 minutes, told me what he wanted, measured it up, got home. I was pricing some other jobs. I quickly priced up his fence, sent it through, job was accepted. So within a few hours of looking at the job, we had the job accepted, and I had it penciled in the diary for the following week. There was a slight bit of urgency just because he has dogs and stuff, and he wanted to try and make it a bit more secure.
What a guy.
Tell me I'm the best boss ever.
The best boss ever. Best boss.
Tell the camera.
Ben's the best boss ever.
Thank
Just
you.
to confirm.
That's one.
Oh, wee hot chocolate for
What
Joe.
a man, eh?
Yes. What did
Is that hot
you
chocolate?
got to say it? Ben's the best boss ever.
Ben's best boss ever.
This is blackmail.
He's upgraded from the hot
Cheers.
chocolate, like.
Appreciate it.
Cheers,
I'll
Ben.
go and try and pull up somewhere.
Cheers, bye.
You heard it here. Ben is the best boss ever. They just said it. I didn't say anything. That was a good coffee. Well done, Matty. Matty, if you watch these videos, great coffee, mate. If you don't, someone can tell you. Right, we've got a different angle now. Changing it up, trying to get my creative spark back. I've got one hell of a headache that I've woke up with, and it's not disappeared. Just had a coffee, probably doesn't help. Anyway, just dropped some materials off to the guys. We were just a little bit short on postcrete, so I went and picked some up. They're cracking on with that. All the holes are pretty much dug. Joe's having a bit of a battle with the gate post there, trying to get the concrete out. If you put the breaker into the wood that you're trying to break out the post, the concrete around it, if the breaker goes into the wood, it's very difficult to get out. Joe was warned. Joe still put it in the wood, and Joe has now learned the lesson because he has to get it out. So we live and learn. Kyle and Ed are on a garden tidy up, one that we started at we did at the start of the year in the spring. Obviously through the growing season, a lot of things have grown again, and we're just giving it another tidy up. Initially, then we'll probably be going back to do some sort of leaf clearing and stuff like that once all the leaves come down. As I was saying, it's warm. I think I'm coming down with something. Everyone's quite ill at the moment. Like the whole workforce have got some sort of bug. Are cold. Joe was off the other day, Kyle last week, Damien's now got it, so is Dav. I've had a head cold for the last few weeks, but I don't know if I'm catching what they've got now. My mother, she's been off as well. Everyone's just, there's something going around. But yes, as I was saying about that job, that quick turnaround secured that job in the bag. and now we're in and doing it. So like, this is what I mean about trying to be like this all-round quick service for people, not waiting months and months to get prices. And don't get me wrong, I'm not saying we're perfect at. Typically the more complex stuff, it's harder to quickly turn around. You know, if there's a bit more involved in doing the quote, then there's a bit more procrastinating and actually going and doing it. Fencing is something we do quite a lot of now, and the more you do something, the more you become, you know, accustomed to it, and it's easier to work out and kind of guesstimate how long it's going to take. So within a few hours that job was accepted, and I'm pretty sure it was definitely last week. And yeah, it's in the diary. It is payday tomorrow again. It comes round faster than you can even imagine. Not as scary as last month's 5-week month. My ultimate goal is to get into a position where wages come in and they get paid comfortably. You don't have to stress about it. My ego could tell me not to share these things and not to try and show the sort of downsides of it all, and everyone thinks that I've got loads and loads of money and it's all singing and dancing and it's easy. I wouldn't have any sort of sense of fulfillment in doing that because I'm just lying, like I wouldn't be telling the truth. And the whole idea of this is to be as transparent and just say it how it is, whether for right or for wrong, how it is. I am trying to get better personally and in business. There's always room for improvement and we are progressing. There's always something we could be doing better, and your awareness of that is key. If you think you know it all and you think you've learned it all, you're done. That's it. There's no sort of progression for you, because if you need to be vulnerable and susceptible to learning and like drop the ego, be the idiot in the room that doesn't know, and just be susceptible to learning and taking in information. You can take in advice from 10 different people. You don't have to use 10 different people's advice. You can adapt it and mold it to what works for you and what you believe and stuff. But getting into the room with people that have been where you are and where you want to go, dropping the ego, dropping the I know it all sort of thing, and learning off people is going to be fundamental for anyone's growth. And I don't just mean in business, I mean in general, in life. People's ego is what kills their growth and their progression. By all means, I'm not perfect. Yes, everyone's got an ego, but there's something quite liberating about being the idiot in the room, being the one who doesn't know anything. Because it's, in my opinion, it's more embarrassing to go into a room with, I say room like metaphorically, being surrounded by people pretending that you know something when you don't at all. I hope that makes sense. Probably doesn't. Mole is still living it up on holiday. He'll be back on Monday, and we'll be back to full strength. We're doing our second last cats this week, and I think our last cats start next week. I think that's what it is. So after that, then it'll be open diary. Got to get the guys busy 5 days a week. Whereas the grass cutting, the beauty of the grass cutting is you guys are busy for a few days a week. Catch-22, if you've got a lot of work on, it can be a bit of a hindrance, and then you might want to take on more staff or to expand your output. But with the way we take payments for the grass cutting, a lot of our customers are on direct debit, so it's a rolling 12-month direct debit. So once we stop cutting grass, we will still be getting paid each month for the majority of the clients, not all. Some of them are pay as you go, which is quite nice in the winter to still have the output. If you're still going to full capacity with your team doing other jobs, and we're still getting like $5.5 grand a month or something that comes in through the direct debits, that's quite a nice little boost every month. On top of what you're already doing. So theoretically, in the winter, we should be making more money. Theoretically. I say making more money, more money should be coming into the bank. How I navigate it going into next year, whether we continue this direct debit, the monthly direct debit, I'm not sure. The only reason being is because we've had a weird sort of pattern of growth this year, and it hasn't been, how do I put it? Yeah, it's just been so dry. So like there hasn't been an awful lot of growth, and when you've got customers tied into say 15 visits a year and you're barely scraping 15 visits, or if you're not actually cutting any and they're actually paying for it, then you can get into a bit of a predicament of like, well, we're paying for this service and we're not getting it, but that's out with our control. It's just something to consider. I don't want anyone to be like unhappy with. We have still went and cut. There's been no times we've skipped one and we've just done it the following week or whatever. We have always been cutting. So whereas the previous year, the whole reason we encouraged another 5 visits per year, so we weren't doing full weekly, but through the peak growing season we were going to weekly cuts, which would allow us to keep on top of the growth, because last year it was crazy. It was like cutting silage fields. This year with the dry weather, it's been the complete opposite. So you've got customers that are on weekly cuts who've, you know, paid for it. They're paying up front, or you know, it's calculated across the 12 months, and you're not really warranted to go in and do a weekly cut because the growth isn't that bad. Then you know, it's what can you really do? Obviously, we want it to be fair. We want it to be, you know, we want the customer to be getting what they're paying for. So how do you handle it? How do you manage it? So nothing. It's all went fine this year. Nothing's been a problem. It's just been it's been sitting in the back of my mind thinking that I need to really think about it going into next year, what we're going to do and how we're going to structure it. And to be honest with you, I think I've touched on the videos before about this. I have taken my eye off the ball with the grass cutting and the maintenance this year, purely because the landscaping has been taking up a lot of my attention, partly because I'm involved in most of the projects and the guys have been going out cutting grass. Whereas if I was out cutting grass, I would probably be a bit more involved and on the ball with how things are going and stuff like that. So maybe it's something I need to pass over to someone else to look after it. That's a whole new thing in itself. I'm back at the yard. I've got a pounding headache. I'm sweating. I don't know. I've got the aircon on. I'm still sweating. So I definitely think I'm coming down with something. Maybe a sauna is required tonight to try and sweat it out. Hello. How are we getting on?
Almost there.
What difference, eh?
Yeah.
What is it? Grass? Like couch grass, is it?
Solid grass.
Solid grass.
But the beds are done, so.
Right, okay.
so
Just
tomorrow-
trimming tomorrow.
Yeah, trimming, blowing, cutting,
Cool.
weeding, strimmers.
Trimming.
But she should be happy with that, I think.
Right, I spoke too soon. Just had a phone call. It's 4:10. Just had a phone call from Dam. The breaker is still stuck in the post. So they've got the 2 gate posts in and then the 2 fence posts. Damien and Dav are fine to stay on, they've said, because they are going to be off tomorrow afternoon. They're going away down Dundee or Glasgow or wherever they're going. I don't know where they're going. So they've said they're happy to stay on and get the posts in, because without the posts being in tonight, we can't crack on with the fence tomorrow. A lot of people don't wait for the post to set. I've noticed that. I'm not criticising at all, like anyone's ways of doing fencing and what have you, but like postcrete, which is what we use, it sets within a few minutes, but it doesn't fully harden. We've always left the posts overnight to harden, so we can then come back and have full confidence that the post isn't going to come slack. I have done it before and it has been slack. The thing is, if you put a post in and leave it half an hour, you start nailing things on and then cutting it, you're shaking the post. I don't personally like it. I think if someone's spending thousands of pounds to get a fence done that's going to last for the next sort of 15-20 years, then it should 100% be done properly. And like, if you can wait a day, then that's just my opinion. I might be wrong, but I'm pretty sure you should really set postcrete and leave it overnight to harden before you come back and then start nailing and boarding. So I'm going to hook the digger on and then we'll go out. Joe's learnt a valuable lesson. What was that lesson, Joe?
Don't put the breaker through a bit of wood. Trust me, don't.
That's where it went. Good job, mate.
What's the lesson of the day?
Don't put a breaker through a piece of wood, especially a rotted post. Please. Because you'll end up like me.
work until, that's a good time, it's 5:50.
It's not bad.
Back at a project that we done at the start of the year, put this fence in, landscape the garden, etc. But we're just back now to oil the fence. I've actually touched on this in a video before, but this is the sort of natural colour of the wood, and as it starts to fade and dry out in the sun, it will naturally silver over time. But suggested to the customer that we put some decking oil on it to try and enhance the natural colour of the look, because, well, personally I like it, and so does she, and so do a lot of other people. So it's a good alternative to painting it. We can put a natural clear oil in here which will enhance it, it'll pop the grain and keep it dark for years to come. It's actually, it lasts quite a while, and it is very easy to reapply. So if you use paint, you're always going to be painting every year really to make it look good. So come over and see what Joe's doing. Joe is applying a thorough, isn't that right, Joe? Yes, a thorough layer of decking oil. So he's going to put 2 coats on this, and you can see the difference already between the colour. It just pops that grain again, keeps it dark, keeps it fresh, and it almost just gives it that sort of wet look. So good morning, folks. It is Friday. Just took the digger to a job this morning to clear some spoil round the corner. They're wanting to get a skip in, so we just needed to clear some space. Done that, then just set Joe up on a job oiling a fence that we've obviously built earlier on in the year. Suggested to the customer that we oil it. I personally like the natural look of the wood. She's agreed, so I said give it a few months to dry off, let the moisture seep out of it, so then it's a bit more receptive of the oil. So Joe's going to put 2 coats on that. Just went up and seen Dam and Dav. They are cracking on with the fence, getting the rails on, and then they're going to start boarding. They're finishing half day today, so that fence isn't going to get finished. I might go back out later and try and help push it on, because it would be nice to get that one finished and wrapped up, but we'll see. They did say the neighbour came out and complained that they were parked opposite their driveway. I personally think that there was plenty of space to get in and out. If the neighbour had just came out and said, could you maybe move your van back a little bit, they almost came and were a bit rude and actually gave Damien the middle finger. It's that sort of thing. If someone is respectful and polite to you, then you're going to be polite and respectful back to them. I think Damien just said, well, there's been vans and everything getting past here all morning. There's nowhere else really for us to go. We're building a fence here, but yeah, you can't please everybody. It just winds me up, because in like when people complain about new builds going up next to their new build property, how was your new build property built? People just love to find anything to complain about when there's so much worse things going on in the world. People love to complain about the most ridiculous things ever. And I remember this, the local Facebook group, jets flying over at night. They're practicing or whatever, they're training, doing nighttime flying, quite loud. Bear in mind, this isn't like 1 o'clock, 2 in the morning, this is probably like 10 o'clock at night. People all over Facebook complaining that they're making such a racket and a noise. Just be glad they're not dropping bombs in your bloody house. Like, what is wrong with people? I don't know. Anyway, rant over. I have told Damien to just move the van back a little bit, just so it gives him more room to get into their driveway. It's important to be professional, so there's no point falling out with anyone over that. Be professional, like remember what you're wearing, remember who you're representing. It's a difficult one. The guys aren't there to take stick off people or get abuse. There's been occasions where customers or things have been verbally abusive to the team, and it's not what they signed up for. It doesn't happen very often. We have great customers. We really do. They love the guys. We get such great feedback about the team and the guys and how polite they are and how helpful and stuff. So I've no doubt in my mind that there's any issues there. But anyway, I'm gonna head back to the yard. I'm gonna get this digger off. Yeah, we'll see what happens. Maybe go back out and help them. It's currently 11 o'clock.
Right, hi, we are here at the lovely home hill on a beautiful autumn day. We're busy doing the garden clear up, just tidying up the beds, cutting back all the bushes, the shrubs, the smaller trees, neatening things up for winter basically, just getting it all ready to go to sleep. Yeah, Ed and I have been here for, well, yesterday, and we're here for today. Yeah, we're making good progress, things are looking good, clients happy. Ed's got the great job of cutting all the streamers off the trees.